Welcome, everybody, to Black and Gold Weekly, a weekly Boston Bruins show here on YouTube in partnership with Black and Gold Productions. I am your host, John, and Boston Bruins hockey is underway. The regular season has begun. The Bruins kicked it off last Saturday against the Dallas Stars. They also just played Wednesday night against Philadelphia. And obviously, with the regular season now starting, there is plenty to talk about here. We've got some big news as well. The Charlie McAvoy contract, which dropped the day of last week's episode, but after the episode was recorded. So haven't talked about that yet. We'll certainly get into that. We're also going to do a review of the first two Bruins games and then look ahead to the upcoming week of action for the Boston Bruins. Before we get started, I do want to give a big thank you to Mark Allred and the entire team at Black and Gold Productions. This show is in partnership with them and would not be happening without them, so thank you to everybody at BNG for all of the support. I also want to draw your attention to the links down in the description of the video. If you are in the market for Boston Bruins apparel, NHL apparel from any team, or NCAA apparel, there are 3 links down in the description in that order, all where you can find a great selection of products. All the usual stuff like hats and shirts and jerseys and sweatshirts and things like that, but also a whole bunch of other accessories are available, and they have a really wide range of products that you can get, all team branded, whoever you want, whether it's the Bruins, a different NHL team, or a college. Would really mean a lot if you could check out those links in the description. But now it's time to get into it here, and obviously we've got hockey underway, real games, points on the line, games that count, and it is great. And right before the start of the season, we got some of the biggest news of the offseason regarding the Boston Bruins, and that is the re-signing of defenseman Charlie McAvoy, who signed an 8-year contract extension with the Bruins at $9.5 million per year. And I just have to say, this, I think, is a great deal for the Bruins, worth every penny. And getting McAvoy at under $10 million, I think, is definitely a win for the Bruins, especially given some of the other contracts that were handed out to defensemen this offseason. I mean, we saw guys that are not on the same level as Charlie McAvoy getting this kind of money. We talk about, Seth Jones in Chicago, Zach Werenski in Columbus, Darnell Nurse in Edmonton, all getting $9+ million, $9.5+ million, and Charlie McAvoy is better than all 3 of those guys. That is for sure. I liken this contract a lot to Cale Makar, who signed with the Colorado Avalanche on a 6-year deal at $9 million per season. So the Bruins pay an extra $500,000 from what Makar got, but they get 2 extra years compared to what Makar got from Colorado. So that, to me, is a win for Boston. And Charlie McAvoy is without a doubt one of the best defensemen in the NHL. Not just best young defenseman, one of the best overall defensemen in the NHL. He's a great two-way player. He drives action at both ends of the ice. Full-on Norris Trophy contender. And I certainly think will win at least one Norris Trophy throughout his career as a Boston Bruin. And the Bruins lock him up now for, pretty much the entirety of his prime. And that's, an important, the ages that this contract is going to carry him through is really important. And, they've got him now locked up for his best years in the NHL. And that is a really good thing for the Boston Bruins, because he is without a doubt their number 1 defenseman, one of their most important players, one of the best players in the league. And, he passes every test, whether you're into analytics or not, whether you're an eye test person or, looking more at numbers, he passes literally every test. If you're using the eye test, you watch Charlie McAvoy out there play, and you can just see what a dynamic two-way player he is. He's great at both ends of the ice. He's a good skater. He moves the puck. His point totals haven't been high as some other defensemen around the league because he hasn't really gotten top power play time. That changes this year. He's getting a lot more power play time, and just overall, a chance on the top power play unit to be the quarterback there. And that, I think, is going to lead to his point totals going up. And he's very good in his own zone. He's good at getting the puck out of his own zone. And he passes the eye test with flying colors. Then if you want to pull the analytics into it, you can look at what Charlie McAvoy has put up as far as analytics go. He is one of the best defensemen in the entire NHL. His WAR is literally in the 100th percentile. He's top 95% even strength offense, top 95% even strength defense. He's pretty solid on the penalty kill. He's goals for per 60, goals against per 60. All the analytical numbers for Charlie McAvoy are absolutely incredible as well. No matter what you use to measure McAvoy's game, he is one of the top defensemen in the NHL, and that makes him well worth the money that the Bruins paid him. And absolutely love this contract, and very, very, very happy to see him locked up as a Boston Bruin here for the foreseeable future, and throughout the prime of his career as well, as he will be one of the most important players for the Bruins, not only right now, but for the next, 8, 9, hopefully beyond years. And that, he's a guy that they are building their team around. I think you look at as far as young guys, you've got David Pastrnak up front, and you've got Charlie McAvoy on the back end. Those are your elite players on the offensive side of things and the defensive side of things that you are building this team around for the future. And getting him locked up was very, very important. So I am a huge fan of the McAvoy contract. Anything under 10, like I said, I think was a win for the Bruins. So 9.5 is a perfectly fine number. 8-year extension. He's going to be a top-level defenseman probably for the entirety of this contract, and I certainly expect him to win at least one Norris Trophy, and I think he's going to be in the conversation for the Norris pretty much every year. I mean, assuming that he stays healthy, I think he'll be a Norris-level guy year in and year out for the Bruins. So I am a big, big fan of that deal. Some other news coming out of the Flyers game on Wednesday night. Nick Foligno left that game in the second period and did not return. And obviously that's an early injury here for the Bruins. Hopefully it's not too serious. There hasn't been any sort of release yet as far as, how serious it's looking, or, what kind of injury this is for Foligno or whatnot. Hasn't been any detailed information sent out. All we know is that Foligno did not return to the game against the Flyers, and that's definitely a loss. I mean, that third line was one of those lines that I was looking at really, really, really closely this year with DeBrusk, Howla, and Foligno, and I thought, they looked really good in the preseason in the games that they played together, and I thought that line was going to be a real impactful new look third line for the Bruins, and now unfortunately Foligno is out, or at least missed the rest of that Philly game, and we'll see if how much longer, or if he's out longer beyond that. But the Bruins play again, Friday night, tonight, when you guys are seeing this. I'm recording on Thursday, so some new information might come out between the time I'm recording this and the time that you guys see it, which hopefully we get a better, more clear picture of what happened and how long this is going to be for the injury. But as far as right now, we don't know, but Boston plays again Friday night in Buffalo, and I feel like there's a solid chance they might be without Nick Foligno for that game. So that's another, early injury here, a guy out of the lineup. They already have Lazar out off of the fourth line, although Kuhlman has stepped in pretty well. Obviously scored against the Flyers, and it was good to see him get on the board, and that fourth line put up some offense. But, another guy out of the bottom six now, and what was supposed to be a revamped bottom six that was going to be significantly better than last season. Now they've already got Lazar out, and now potentially Foligno out as well. Already taking some bites from the injury bug which is never a good thing. But we'll see how it looks as more information comes out. But hopefully Foligno is not out too long, because this was an important player for the Bruins. Him stepping in a leadership role, him stepping in a third line role to try and help that third line get better. Also, with what he brings to the table physically, the Bruins need that in the lineup, and losing him for an extended period would not be good. So we'll have to see how it works out. But unfortunate news, to say the least, there with Nick Foligno getting injured against Philly. But with that now, we talked about McAvoy. We talked about the Foligno injury. I want to take a look now at Boston's first 2 games, and it's really kind of been a tale of 2 games for the Bruins here to start. As we take a look, they opened their season on Saturday the 16th against the Dallas Stars, and Boston picked up a 3-1 win in that game over the Stars. And all in all, I thought it was a very, very good performance for the Bruins, particularly for an opening game. The first game of the season, you never really know what to expect. Is the team going to be, ready to go firing out of the gate? Or is, it going to be a slow start? You don't really know what you're going to get in a game 1 of the season. But I thought Boston had a very, very solid game here against Dallas. They scored the first goal of the game. Brad Marchand actually got it on a penalty shot, which not very often do you see a team's first goal of the season be scored on a penalty shot. But Marchand got the goal, put the Bruins up 1-0. Luke Glendening answered in the second period for Dallas, but then the Bruins came out and they won the third period. And they got goals from Jake DeBrusk and Brad Marchand in the third, which iced the game and made it 3-1 Boston. And Jeremy Swayman had a very, very solid performance in goal, stopping 27 out of 28 shots that he faced. Bruins in general, I thought, had a very good overall game. They played well. Obviously, Marchand had a couple of goals. That was great to see. DeBrusk getting on the board in the first game. That was really good to see. We've talked a lot about how important of a year this is for Jake DeBrusk, and they didn't really allow Dallas to get a whole lot going offensively. The penalty kill was great. Dallas was 0 for 6 on the power play. The Bruins penalty kill looked really, really good in this first game. And again, Glendening got the 1 goal for the Stars, and that was it. I mean, they really didn't get much going offensively. And the Bruins really, I thought, had a really good overall game in game number 1. And, we got, a couple goals from Marchand, a goal from DeBrusk, assist for Pastrnak, assist for Haula and Foligno. Again, that third line, was really looking forward to seeing that third line this year and what they were going to look like and whatnot. And that makes the Foligno injury all the more unfortunate. Swayman didn't get overly tested, but made all the saves that he needed to make. And Boston had a very, very solid game number 1 of the season, beating Dallas at home. Then they went on the road and played last night, Wednesday, against the Philadelphia Flyers. And this was just a totally different performance in game for the Bruins here against the Flyers. And they lost 6-3. Were not nearly as good defensively, and Jeremy Swayman was not as good in goal. Penalty kill was not good. Flyers had 2 power plays. They scored on both of them. Penalty kill was not good. And it was just overall a pretty lousy overall performance. There were parts of the Bruins game that were fine. I mean, they had 40 shots on goal again. Like, it's not like they didn't have the puck. It's not like they got dominated possession-wise. It's not like they didn't get pucks on goal, but they weren't getting a lot of high-quality scoring chances. And then defensively, this game was a disaster for Boston. And honestly, I think the biggest thing for them was puck management in this game. I would say, that would be something that stood out to me, was just the puck management, or the lack thereof, for the Bruins. And that's something that you hear a lot about. I know on Bruins broadcasts, Andy Brickley uses the term puck management all the time. And this was a really, really bad game as far as puck management goes from Boston. I mean, they turned the puck over an absolute ton in this game. They weren't crisp with their passes. They weren't making smart plays with the puck. There was a lot of passes that were either behind somebody or too far in front, or it was going off a skate and deflecting back to the Flyers, and just they weren't crisp and clean with their puck possession. They weren't crisp and clean with their puck movements, and the puck management overall was just not good in this game, and it ended up costing them. And I mean, just way too many turnovers. I mean, way too many bad giveaways from this team. And it resulted in goals against. Jeremy Swayman was not able to bail the Bruins out here. He did not have a great all-around game either. Certainly not his best performance. He only had a .792 save percentage in this game. Obviously, it's only one game, but to only make, 19 saves on 24 shots or 25 shots, well, the Flyers got an empty netter, so that one doesn't count against Swayman, obviously. So it was shots that he faced was 24, and he only made 19 saves. He gave up 5 goals. So obviously not a great performance there for Swayman. But Clifton and Forbert were both -2. Riley and Carlo was both -1. And Riley had a couple of absolutely brutal giveaways in this game. This was a rough one for the Bruins D as a whole. Riley's turnovers, some of them were absolutely horrendous. One of them led directly to a Philadelphia goal. Forbert and Clifton were pretty rough out there. This was not strong performances for either of them. Carlo, I do not think had a very good game at all. He was, doesn't really jump out on the stat sheet. He was just -1, had a penalty and got a couple shots. But Carlo did not have a good game here against Philadelphia. This was a pretty rough performance from him as well. I actually thought that Grzelcyk and McAvoy were good. Like they were the two that I thought had really, really solid games, but the rest of the D really struggled. I mean, that Grzelcyk and McAvoy, they played a lot together in this game, which I think is the right move. I thought they performed well. McAvoy had a couple of assists. Grzelcyk didn't have any points, but was +2. That pair was fine. But the rest of the D, Carlo and Riley and Forbert and Clifton, those guys all really had tough games in this one, and it came back to bite the Bruins. And, Cam Atkinson scored the first goal about 8 minutes in. That was on an odd man rush that the Bruins got caught up ice, and they came in, and it was a beautiful fake pass and then a shot from Atkinson that beat Swayman under the glove hand, and it was definitely a shot that Swayman probably would have liked back, and that kind of set the tone for the entire rest of the game. That first goal was a shot that Swayman would have liked back and just beat him under the glove. He actually got a little piece of it but couldn't make the save. And it was just kind of off from there, although Boston did, keep it close until the third period. Kuhlman answered for the Bruins in the first period, tying the game up at 1. It was great to see the fourth line get a goal and get some offense going. Frederick got an assist on that. Kuhlman obviously scored the goal. Nosek got an assist as well. Like, it was great to see the fourth line get a goal, and a big goal to tie the game back up at 1. But then the Bruins committed a cardinal sin, and they gave up a goal with under a minute to go in the first period. It was actually down to only 9 seconds to go in the first period, and they allowed a power play goal to Joel Farabee, and that was such a bad goal to give up. You cannot give up goals with less than a minute to go in periods, and certainly not with less than 10 seconds to go. Like, that just cannot happen. There's no excuse for that. It cannot happen. And the Bruins then, gave the Flyers the lead heading into the intermission. Philly comes out to start the second period. Scott Laughton scores early, not even 2 minutes in. So not only do the Bruins give up a goal with less than 10 seconds to go in the first period, they then allow another goal less than 2 minutes into the second period. I mean, that cannot happen. And that's going to be a trend that continues here in this game as we move further along. But Lawton scores for Philadelphia not even 2 minutes into the second, and they go up 3-1. And at that point, I thought the Bruins were starting to look like they were in a little bit of trouble. However, they fought back, and they fought back hard. And I think this next stretch was the best the Bruins played all game. Was after that Lawton goal to make it 3-1 throughout the rest of the second period. That was the Bruins' best stretch of the game. Taylor Hall got a breakaway and cut the lead down to 1 and made it a 3-2 hockey game in about the middle point of the second period. And then Brad Marchand scored late. Bruins answer back with a late period goal of their own. Late in period 2, Brad Marchand scores with 1 minute left to tie the game up at 3. And that evened everything up here, 3-3 going into the third period. And at that point, honestly, I thought the Bruins had a chance. Like, they had gotten their game together. They tied it up. They came back from 2 goals down and they tied it up. They were headed 3-3 tie game into the third period. And I thought the Bruins really had a chance. All Boston had to do was come out, play a solid 20 minutes of hockey, and win the third period. If you win the third period, you win the game. Well, Boston came out and did the exact opposite. They actually played their worst period of hockey of the game and of this short season so far. The third period was an absolute disaster for the Boston Bruins. I mean, it was a brutally bad third period for the Bruins, and obviously it started right away. And again, right out of the gate, 58 seconds into the period, not even 1 minute in, Cam Atkinson scores for the Philadelphia Flyers to put them up 4-3. And when that goal was scored was when I knew that the Boston Bruins were not winning this game, because they committed another cardinal sin here, allowing a goal less than a minute into the period. I mean, again, just no reason, no excuse for it. And, when you do things like that, it is hard to win hockey games. It is going to come back and bite you. And if you look at what the Bruins did here as far as, committing these cardinal sins, you're not going to win games like this. They gave up a goal to Joel Farabee with 9 seconds left in the first. Then they gave up a goal less than 2 minutes into the second to Scott Lawton. Then they give up a goal less than a minute into the third to Cam Atkinson. I mean, you are not going to win hockey games doing things like that. You can't allow goals in the early part of the period or at the very end of periods. That will always come back to bite you in the NHL, and it did this game for the Boston Bruins. After that, it was pretty much all Philadelphia. They just controlled the rest of the game. Travis Konechny absolutely sniped one a little bit past the halfway mark of the third to make it 5-3. That was the icing on the cake. The game was absolutely over at this point. Boston really wasn't able to get much of anything going offensively in the third. And then Sean Couturier hit an empty netter and really put the game away to make it 6-3 on the power play. Right at the end of the game, with less than a minute to go. So this was a totally different performance from the Bruins than we saw on opening night. Opening night was a very strong performance. They, got a lot of shots on goal. They got 3 in the net. They were able to score. They shut down Dallas defensively. And played a solid overall game and picked up the 3-1 win against the Stars. This was a totally different game against the Flyers. Boston did not look very good in this one. Their puck management, like I said, was horrible. Way too many turnovers. Just not crisp with their passes. They got a lot of shots on goal again, but there weren't a lot of high-quality chances in on Martin Jones. A lot of their shots came from the perimeter and were not really going to be goals. They weren't high quality scoring chances, and Jones made all the saves that he had to, and the Bruins scored 3 goals again, but they completely broke down defensively in this game. Also did not get great goaltending from Jeremy Swayman. This was definitely one of Swayman's tougher performances of his young career. Obviously going to look for him to bounce back big time in the next game that he plays in. because this was not all that great of a one for him. And all in all, it was just a disappointing performance from the Boston Bruins. They're a lot better than what they showed in this game, especially defensively, but they just absolutely stunk in defensive zone hockey in this game, and not nearly good enough to win, especially against a team that is off to a good start in the Philadelphia Flyers, who were coming off a big win on Monday night, now get another big win on Wednesday night, and the Flyers have been strong out of the gate. Boston needed a much better performance if they were going to beat a team like Philadelphia. So just two very different games for the Bruins, and one was very good, one was very not good. So before we start looking ahead here to the Boston's upcoming schedule, I want to talk about a really troubling trend that I've noticed from the Bruins this season defensively, and it goes back into the preseason as well, and that is Boston is leaving guys wide open in the slot way too often. And this has become something now that I've noticed multiple times throughout the season so far. Going back into the preseason, they did it in some of their preseason games where they would just leave guys wide open in front of the net. And they've done it in both games in the regular season so far, and it's resulted in goals against twice already against the Bruins this season. The first one was in the Dallas game. The one goal that Dallas scored was by Luke Glendening. Glendening was left all alone in the slot. Nobody covering him, just walked right in and was able to rip a shot in on Swayman and beat him for the goal. And then the Scott Lawton goal against Philadelphia Wednesday night was almost the exact same thing. There was a rebound, the puck came out in front, and nobody was covering the front of the net. Nobody was covering Scott Lawton, and he just walked right into the slot and ripped a shot past Swayman. And it's the second time in 2 games that goals against the Bruins have been scored because just guys left completely alone in front of the net. And it happened in the preseason as well, and this is becoming a troubling trend. Because this cannot happen, and this is going to result in goals against more often than not. These are high level scoring chances coming for the opponents because the Bruins are not covering in front of the net. And I don't know if it's a coaching issue where, their system is leaving that spot open, which I certainly hope not, because no NHL defensive system should be leaving the front of the net open. But I don't know if it's coaching, or I don't know if it's the players not being in the right spot and not playing the defensive zone properly, or what the deal is, but they are leaving way too many guys all alone in front of the net and just letting them get free goals, basically. Because those are high percentage shots, high percentage shots that are going to result in goals against more often than they're not. And that is like the one area of the ice that you have to make sure that you lock down and cover defensively. You have to make sure that you have that slot area defended. And the Bruins are not doing a good enough job of that so far. If you're going to allow shots, let them shoot from the perimeter. Let them shoot from the point. Let them shoot from the half wall. Those shots are going to get stopped 95% of the time. And you're going to win a lot of games if you force everything to the outside and make it a perimeter game. You're going to win a majority of games like that. But if you allow shots from the middle of the ice, from the slot area, right in front of the net, those are going to be goals more often than not. And that's what Boston's allowing way too much of right now. And it's definitely something that needs to be fixed. I mean, you talk about, 95% of the shots from the perimeter are going to get stopped. I would say less than 50% of the shots from the slot area are going to get stopped. And if you allow them free shots from there, you're going to be pulling the puck out of your own net a whole lot. And it's not helping the goaltender out either at all, because those are really tough saves to make, especially when the guy isn't even being pressured defensively, just wide open all day to shoot, gets to pick his spot and just rip one. That's going to end up in the back of your net. And that's what we've seen already from the Bruins defense. And it is troubling. because that's an area of the ice that the Bruins generally in the past have been good at covering. And what's made them such a successful defensive team is that they don't allow a lot of high-quality chances from the slot area. And that has not been the case so far this year, which is unfortunate to see and something that the Bruins definitely need to get working on as far as their D-zone coverage goes, because that is going to be a problem for them if they can't get that fixed. That's going to result in a lot of goals against. And again, it's already happened twice in the regular season in 2 games. Lawton's goal, he got the puck on a rebound out in front, and absolutely nobody was near him. And then Glendenning's goal against Dallas was pretty much the same thing, where he got the puck in the middle of the ice and was just allowed to walk right in and rip one past Swayman. It's like, guys, that is the one area of the ice that you have to have covered and defended well at all times. And the Bruins just aren't doing it. So that is a troubling trend so far, to say the least, and something that I hope that the coaching staff is working on right now to try and get fixed. Because the Bruins are going to have trouble keeping the puck out of their own net if they keep giving up chances like that. But just something that I noticed during these first couple games, and even going back to the preseason, and definitely something that I want to see cleaned up, because it's going to be a problem if the Bruins can't get it cleaned up. But anyway, now I want to look ahead to the upcoming week of the Boston Bruins season as we pull up the schedule here and take a look. So tonight, or at least the night when you guys are seeing this on Friday, Boston is in Buffalo. And this is an interesting game because the Buffalo Sabres are off to a really, really good start. Now, they haven't played anybody good yet, but they are 3-0-0 to start the season. And who would have thought that? They picked up wins over Montreal, who hasn't won a game yet as of me recording this. We'll see what they do tonight. They beat the Arizona Coyotes, who are terrible and also haven't won a game yet. We'll see what they do tonight. And they beat the Vancouver Canucks, who do have one win, but overall are still off to a pretty bad start. So anyway, Buffalo's off to a 3-0-0 start, but their opponents that they've played have a combined 1 win. So that pretty much, tells you the story there. It's take that record with a grain of salt. As of right now, they haven't played anyone good yet. However, they're still 3-0-0. Like, they're getting the job done against teams that they should get the job done against, and they've looked good. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that Buffalo has played well. They've played a really high-energy, hard-working style of hockey, and I think that could give the Bruins some trouble. So this is certainly a game that I fully expect the Bruins to win, and they should win. There's no excuse for them to lose to the Buffalo Sabres. But I don't think it's going to be an easy game. And Boston's going to have to come out with a really good effort here to get the job done. Because this is not going to be just a walkover Buffalo team that you're going to go out there and beat 5-1 without even trying. This Buffalo team is playing with some spunk. They're playing with energy. They're working extremely hard. And so far, it's paying off. It is paying off. And they are winning games, which not a lot of people expected from the Buffalo Sabres this year. But that's going to be a big game up in Buffalo as the Bruins continue on the road. And I don't think that's going to be a slam dunk win. The Bruins are going to have to really come out and bring their A game for this one and make sure that they are prepared and ready to go against the Sabres. Then they come back home for a one-off game on home ice against the San Jose Sharks. That is a Sunday afternoon game at 1 o'clock, matinee at TD Garden against San Jose. And again, the Sharks are a team that did not have high expectations heading into this year. A lot of issues going on around that team right now, especially with Evander Kane. And the Sharks were not very good last season, and people were kind of expecting more of the same this year with San Jose. But they've gotten off to a pretty good start, and they've played well to start the season. So, that's, again, especially with the afternoon start, Boston's going to have to make sure that they're ready to go in that one. But I fully expect the Bruins to win that game. But again, I don't think it's going to be an easy one. I think they're really going to have to make sure that they're ready to go and play. And then they get a couple of nights off on Monday and Tuesday, and they play at the Florida Panthers in Florida on Wednesday night, the 27th, and this is a tough game. This is a very tough game. The Florida Panthers are off to a phenomenal start this season. As of me recording, they haven't lost yet. We'll see if that changes. They've got obviously some games between now and when they play against the Bruins, but they could potentially still be undefeated by the time they play the Bruins on Wednesday. And that is going to be a really tough team. Florida has come flying out of the gate. They've looked really, really good. They're getting solid goaltending, even from Bobrovsky. Spencer Knight was fantastic against Tampa Bay, but Bobrovsky's played the other games, and he's looked really good. They score a ton of goals. I mean, Florida's offense is off the charts. They've got 4 scoring lines, all that can put the puck in the net. They're a physical team as well. They've got toughness in their lineup. This is going to be a really, really tough game for the Bruins, especially down in Florida. And Boston's going to have to bring their A game to be able to get 2 points in this one. And I think it's really important that the Bruins play well and win against Buffalo and San Jose, who are 2 teams that they should be beating, because that next game against Florida is not going to be an easy one. Then they have to travel and go to Carolina. Speaking of another game that is not going to be an easy one, they then have a back-to-back. Thursday night they play in Carolina, so they have to go down to Florida, play against the Panthers, who are one of the best teams in the league right now, and then they have to travel to Carolina and play the next night against the Hurricanes, who are also one of the best teams in the league right now and off to a very, very good start. They also have not lost a game so far. That may change by the time we get to Thursday night's game, but as of now, they haven't lost. So, again, really tough back-to-back here for the Bruins against the Panthers and the Hurricanes. And yeah, that's just a really tough portion of the schedule here and a tough couple of games midweek. And that makes it really important for the Bruins to get the job done against the Sabres and the Sharks, because those next 2 against Florida and Carolina are going to be really, really tough ones against some of the toughest competition that the Eastern Conference has to offer with both of these teams. So those are the 4 games that the Bruins have between now and the next episode of this show. They play Florida again on the 30th. That one is at home for the Bruins, but I'll talk about that and preview that the next episode that will be coming out on the 29th. So the 4 games that the Bruins have between now and the next episode are Buffalo, San Jose, Florida, and Carolina. And, man, those are, especially the Florida and Carolina games, those are going to be tough. Buffalo is off to a really good start. San Jose is off to a better start than expected. This is not an easy schedule to start the season for the Bruins. And they're going to need to bring it and make sure that they are winning these games that they can. And, really, make sure that they're playing at a high level each and every night. Also, Linus Ullmark will make his season debut and his Bruins debut against his former team in Buffalo on Friday night. So that is definitely going to be something to watch. A bit of a homecoming for Ullmark playing against his former team. And I'm looking for him to have a big performance. I want to see him shut down the Sabres and really have a strong, emotionally driven performance against his former team, and hopefully help the Bruins pick up 2 much-needed points in that game against Buffalo. But Ullmark gets the start against Buffalo. We don't know about the goaltending beyond that. Maybe it will depend on how Ullmark plays. I mean, if he goes out and shuts out the Sabres, then maybe he gets the San Jose game as well, or we don't know what they're going to do moving forward beyond that. But I would certainly assume that they're going to split the Florida-Carolina, because that's back-to-back nights. Ullmark will get one of those games. Swayman will get the other. We don't know which, but we'll find out as we get closer to those 2 games. But we do know for sure that Linus Ullmark will be starting in Buffalo Friday night, and he'll be facing off against his former team. But that is the Bruins' upcoming schedule here. And again, this is not an easy start to the season. Hopefully Boston can pick up at least a few more wins here over the next week. You like to see him win at least 2 of these next 4 games, if not 3. But the Florida and Carolina matchups are definitely going to be tough ones, and Boston will have to bring their A game to beat either of those teams. But Boston Bruins hockey is underway. Regular season has gotten here, and it is great to have meaningful hockey back on the TV screen and be able to watch these Bruins as they begin their 2021-2022 campaign. But that's going to bring us to the end here of episode 40. Really, really appreciate everybody watching. Thank you guys so much. Again, a big thank you to Mark Allred and the entire team at Black and Gold Productions for all of the support. This show would not be happening without them. Please make sure you check out blackandgoldhockey.com, as that's a awesome website from So that is going to bring us to the end of episode 40 here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Also, a big thank you to Mark Allred and the entire team at Black and Gold Productions. This show would not be happening without them and their support. And please make sure you check out blackandgoldhockey.com, the BNG website, where you can get all the great articles written by the BNG writers each and every day covering the Boston Bruins. You can also check out the Podcast Network, a great group of podcasts, all Boston Bruins related, covering the team. And that's available on the website as well. Don't forget about the links down in the description of the video. Again, Boston Bruins apparel, NHL apparel from any team, or NCAA college apparel, all available via those links. So please check those out in the description. Very, very much appreciated. But that's going to bring us here to the end of episode 40. We'll have another week of Bruins action under our belt by next week, when I'll be bringing you episode 41. And we'll have a whole new slate of topics to talk about and games to talk about as the Bruins season rolls on. But that's going to do it for me today. Thank you guys again so much. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys next week.